We are almost halfway through the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. A second round series could actually end tonight if the Florida Panthers win Game 4 against the Toronto Maple Leafs and complete the sweep. So before too many more teams get eliminated from Stanley Cup contention, I wanted to make a video going over the most surprising players of the playoffs so far, and these players could be surprising in a good way or a bad way. As always, I want to know your guys' thoughts, so let me know down below in the comments which players have surprised you the most so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first player. We have a goalie here, Philip Grubauer of the Seattle Kraken. You guys hear me say it on the channel all the time, goaltending in the NHL is voodoo. You never know what to expect, and look no further than Philip Grubauer as living proof of that. His first two regular seasons with the Seattle Kraken after signing a 6-year, $35.4 million deal with the team in the offseason of 2021 were terrible. His first season especially, he was probably the worst starting goaltender in the league. His numbers did see a little bit of improvement this season, but I mean, it would have been hard not to improve. He still finished with a sub 900 save percentage. Grubauer is not a guy that I had any confidence in whatsoever in terms of him being able to play well enough for Seattle to actually go on any kind of playoff run. And now here we are in the second round, and Philip Grubauer has accounted for all 6 of the Seattle Kraken's playoff wins up until this point, knocked off the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round, which happened to be Grubauer's former team. I'm sure that felt really good for him. Had a rough outing last night in Game 4 against Dallas, so his overall numbers in the playoffs did take a little bit of a hit, but still a 6-5 record through 11 starts, a .909 save percentage, and a 1.75 goals saved above expected. Are those world-beating numbers? No, but when you compare them to his regular season numbers as a member of the Seattle Kraken, I mean, Seattle will take that every single day of the week. Moving along now to the next player, we have defenseman Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers, who's got 14 points through Edmonton's 9 playoff games so far. Yes, I know there's going to be some comments saying, well, he plays on the power play with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. That is where the majority of his points come from, and while you're not wrong, he's still producing, and he is honestly a big reason why their power play is so elite. He is one of the best power play quarterbacks in the league. Bouchard has been very productive in each of the past 2 regular seasons, putting up a combined 83 points in those 2 seasons, but I feel like this postseason has really been his coming out party. He scored some big goals, and this kind of production has put Evan Bouchard in elite company. If you look at the most points from a defenseman through 8 playoff games in NHL history, now since then Bouchard has played 1 game where he's went pointless, but through 8 playoff games, he's tied for the second most points by a defenseman in NHL history with 14. The others are Brian Leetch and Larry Robinson. The 2 people tied for first, Paul Coffey and Dennis Potvin. Like I said, elite company. Moving along now, next up on the list, we have Jordan Martinook of the Carolina Hurricanes. One of my concerns coming into the postseason for the Canes was who's going to step up and provide some secondary scoring in the absences of Svechnikov, Teravainen, and Pacioretty. And there's been a handful of guys who have really stepped up: Jesper Fast, Seth Jarvis, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Stefan Noesen, but I would definitely say the most surprising to me has to be Jordan Martinook, who through 10 playoff games so far for the Hurricanes has 3 goals and 6 assists for 9 points. And the crazy part about that is all 9 of those points have came in the 4 games they've played so far in the second round against the Devils. He was pointless in the first round against the Rangers. Martinook is on some kind of tear right now in the second round. I certainly didn't have that on my playoff bingo card, I'll tell you that much. Throughout his career, he's always been a very useful bottom 6 forward, but never really a guy who puts up big offensive numbers. His career high in goals is 15. His career high in points is 34, which happened this season in 82 games. I'm sure the Hurricanes are very pleased with his production in the second round against New Jersey because he's been pivotal for them. And is it just me, or has this second round series between the Canes and Devils kind of sucked? Yeah, there's been a lot of goals, which is always entertaining to see, but for me personally, in playoff games, I want to see, close games. I want to see overtimes mixed in throughout the series, but every game's been a blowout so far. Continuing on now, next up on the list, we have another goaltender, and I'm sorry, Bruins fans, I know you probably want to forget about that first round series and just this season as a whole as soon as possible, but I had to put him in here, Linus Ullmark of the Boston Bruins. In all likelihood, he's going to win the Vezina Trophy this year, and I know a lot of people are saying that he shouldn't because of recency bias, because of how bad he was in the first round against the Florida Panthers, but remember, it's a regular season award. Playoffs have nothing to do with it. It would have made sense to expect a little bit of a drop in performance from Linus Ullmark from the regular season to the playoffs. I mean, a .938 save percentage, a 46-1 record, and a 1.89 goals against. Those are just absurd numbers. It almost would have been unfair to Linus Ullmark to expect him to keep putting up those kinds of numbers in the postseason, but I don't think anybody was expecting to see that big of a drop in performance. He had a 3-3 record, a 3.33 goals against, against and a sub 900 save percentage. He had a negative 0.76 goals saved above expected. And in Game 7, do or die for the Boston Bruins, they decided to start Jeremy Swayman over Linus Ullmark, who hadn't even appeared in a single playoff game in the series up until that point. It definitely puts a massive damper on the Boston Bruins and Linus Ullmark's historic regular season, but that's hockey, man, and especially that's goaltending. Like I said when we were talking about Philip Grubauer, you just never know what to expect. Moving along now, next up on the list, we have Evgenii Dadanov of the Dallas Stars. He was acquired by Dallas around the trade deadline in a 1-for-1 swap for Evgenii Dadanov, and it was a trade that at the time I never thought would really have big implications really one way or the other. It was nice to give Dadanov a fresh start on a younger team in Montreal, and Dadanov added a little bit of depth scoring to Dallas's lineup. But so far, during the postseason, Dadanov has been one of Dallas's most productive forwards. He's tied for 4th on the team in playoff scoring with Tyler Seguin, Jason Robertson, and Miro Heiskanen. The only Stars forwards with more points, Roope Hintz, Max Domi, who's also been a really good pickup, and Jamie Benn. Through Dadanov's first 50 games of the season with the Montreal Canadiens before being traded to the Dallas Stars, he had just 4 goals. He's already got 4 goals through Dallas's 10 playoff games. I'm sure even the Dallas Stars have to be a little bit surprised with this kind of production from Dadanov at this point in his career, but good for Dadanov, man, because this is just the second time in his career where he's made the postseason. The only other time was in 2020 with the Panthers, and he played just 4 games. And now for the final player we're going to talk about in today's video, another goaltender, another Dallas Stars member, Jake Oettinger. Over the past few seasons, Jake Oettinger has really blossomed into one of the league's best goaltenders. I'm sure you all remember his historic performance in the first round last year against the Calgary Flames, albeit it was in defeat, but man, he put on a clinic for 7 games. However, in the playoffs this season, I would say his performance has definitely been a little bit underwhelming compared to what we come to expect now from Jake Oettinger. He's got a 6-4 record, a 2.71 goals against, a 903 save percentage, and a negative 0.63 goals saved above expected, which is 12th out of 21 goaltenders who have appeared in this year's playoffs. Now, don't get me wrong, those numbers aren't completely awful, but like I said, compared to what we've come to expect from Jake Oettinger, it is a little bit surprising. If you were to tell me the Dallas Stars right now would be 2 wins away from the conference finals with Oettinger playing like this, I would have said you were crazy. But luckily for Oettinger and luckily for the Dallas Stars, among teams left in the postseason, Dallas is scoring the 3rd most goals for per game at 3.70. The only teams scoring at a higher clip per game, the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights, who of course are battling it out right now in the other second round matchup in the West. I'll finish by saying this though, Dallas has made it this far with Oettinger's subpar performance up until this point. Don't let him get hot, because if he does, I legitimately could see Dallas winning the Stanley Cup. So that is going to wrap up today's video. Those are some NHL players who have been surprising to me in either a good way or a bad way so far in the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Like I said at the beginning, let me know who your picks are, who has surprised you the most down below in the comments. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.